Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new episode of NASCAR Heat 3 Career Mode. Today we will be racing in Talladega for the Xfinity Series with Hailie Deegan and myself in the Cup Series. Talladega, a track that I have not had a lot of success at so far in my short career, but hopefully today we can maybe turn that around. And you can see there we sit 8th in the playoff standings right now. Ryan Blaney, the first car outside of the playoffs, 7 points out right now as we look into Talladega for Hailie Deegan in her Xfinity race. She would qualify in the 37th position, so obviously not a good starting spot in this race now. She would just really run this bottom line throughout the whole race, and that's really all you can do, especially at Talladega. Talladega, the pack racing here isn't very good, so you really need to be on that bottom line. Daytona, you can make the top line work it sometimes, and we showed that earlier in the Daytona 500 this season as we nearly pushed Kurt Busch to victory in that race using the top line now as she would work her way up to the 18th position as we came to about 10 laps to go in the race, and she just continued to work her way forwards as Christopher Bell led over his teammate Brandon Jones through the tri-oval. He would actually take the top line and give up the lead to Jones through the tri-oval as they came across the line. By the time we came to the final lap in this race, she ran P4 trying to make something happen, but she just couldn't make it happen as she was on the top line as Spencer Gallagher edged out the car beside him as they came out of turn 4 as he's looking in command to win another Talladega race like he did in real life. As they come through the tri-oval, Spencer Gallagher would hold on to get the victory in Talladega, and Hailie Deegan would come across the line in the middle of a 3 wide to finish in the 8th position. So certainly a very solid finishing position for our team, and obviously I couldn't be disappointed with that. So things are looking pretty good for us early in the season. Obviously, this point last season in the Truck Series for Hailie Deegan, things were looking pretty bad as we really didn't have a lot of money invested into this team or into the truck team, and then we finally figured it out. But now, obviously, a much better start to our Xfinity program this season, and hopefully we can continue that as we are now over $30 million in my bank up top on the screen, as you see. So certainly a good amount of money that we can invest, which won't matter because we will be going to the 2019 DLC next season anyways. And unfortunately, your progress doesn't carry over, but as we come to qualifying through turns 3 and 4, running the DC Solar car for probably the only race this season. I think McMurray ran it here as well in Talladega in real life. And now as we come through the tri-oval now, we only made it into the first session. We couldn't make it out, as you can expect. As we come across the line, we would qualify P33 in Talladega with a 49.721. So we'll be starting on the bottom. So let's go see what we can do in Talladega.
Today, we make our first stop at Talladega Superspeedway for today's running of the Geico 500. Talladega is 2.66 miles long, making it the longest track in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Its relatively wide layout also allows drivers to run in rows of 3, 4, and sometimes even 5 lanes. Such close quarter racing is thrilling for us, but leaves them little time to react to any incident, raising the possibility of the big one. Who will stay out of trouble and make their way to victory lane today? Let's head down to the track and find out.
All right, we are ready to get going in Talladega. Kyle Busch, he starts on the pole alongside his brother Kurt Busch, so the Busch brothers round out the front row as David Reagan starts in the back after failing optical scanning station multiple times in this race, and that gains me 1 position for the start. So unfortunately, we won't be starting on the bottom. We're going to be starting on the outside in the 32nd position as we get ready to go green. The green flag is out, and we are underway for the first time at Talladega this season of 2 races. Obviously, we go back here in the playoffs now as we come across the line behind the 62 of Brendan Gaughan alongside the 13 of Ty Dillon. Now as we make the dive into turn 1 as Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch battle side by side through the center of the corner. Now as we come through turns 1 and 2, Alex Bowman not with a good start, or William Byron, as they both start behind me in this pack. Now as we exit turn 2 for the first time, heading down the back straightaway now, closing up on Brendan Gaughan, giving him a shot to the bumper. Now as we come down the back straightaway, heading into turn 3, immediately an opportunity for myself to drop down to the inside line, so obviously I hop on that opportunity. We get down to the bottom right away now as we come through turns 3 and 4. Harrison Rhodes, he's going to use that outside momentum and look to the right hand side of my car as we come out of turn 4, still sitting in the 32nd position now as we head towards the tri-oval. And immediately early on in this race, I noticed we don't have a ton of speed in this car, so I'm feeling like we might need to make a tire pressure adjustment at one point when we get a pit stop going now as we head into turns 1 on the inside of Ty Dillon through the center of the corner, closing up on the back of the 55 of Reed Sorensen on the inside of Brendan Gaughan now as we come out of turn 2 down the back straightaway, getting into the back of Sorensen just a little bit now as we get up to the 31st position as Ty Dillon. He's going to get a big run down the back straightaway on my outside, and he's going to try to retake that 31st position from me, but his progress is halted as there's a slight check in front of him, including Ryan Newman and Brendan Gaughan kind of slowing each other up now as we once again look to the inside of the 62, pretty even with him through turns 3 and 4, getting that draft from Ryan Newman now as we come out of turn 4 with an opportunity to take it 3 wide now as we look to the inside of the 55 of Sorensen through the tri-oval, trying to get ourselves into the top 30 at this point in the race. As we come across the line to start the third lap, we would get up to the 28th position. And we look to the inside of the 8 of Hammer going into turns 1 and 2 now as we are slowly creeping in on the top 25. And by the time we came to lap 7 of 13, we got into the top 25 using we had the helmet cam for the race broadcast in this race. So obviously you see a little bit of helmet cam footage as we come through turns 1 and 2 on the exit. Down the back straightaway, closing up still on the back of the 32 of Matt DiBenedetto now as we've been kind of behind him for quite a chunk, or a big chunk of laps at this point in the race now as we head into turns 3 and 4, slowly creeping in on a top 20 position as Kevin Harvick sits here on the top. Not a whole lot of help for himself, as you can see up ahead. Denny Hamlin way up towards the wall being hung out now as we come out of turn 4 down the front straightaway as we head into the tri-oval, now closing in on the final handful of laps in stage 1 as we close up on the back bumper of the 32 of DiBenedetto and Harvick as we come across the line into 6 laps to go at this point in the first stage as we head into turns 1 and 2. Johnson closing up on my back bumper as he battles alongside with Eric Jones into turns 1 and 2. Looking to the inside of the 4 of Harvick now as we come out of turn 2. An opportunity to also look to the inside of Matt DiBenedetto, and we're going to work our way into the top 20. And with help from the draft from Soar, as we were not actually able to get past DiBenedetto now as we come to lap 12 in the first stage, just 2 laps to go as we head into turns 1 and 2 on the inside of the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. now. And up ahead they're wrecking. We got a car spinning and we get into the back of Matt DiBenedetto and we look to the apron straight away, avoiding the crash, and we would go from about the 18th position into the top 10 now as we came down the back straightaway. The caution would come out and that would end stage 1. So certainly a good avoidance for myself as we did get into the back of Matt DiBenedetto, but I was able to get down, turn down to the apron and avoid that incident as Paul Menard won stage 1, so a playoff point to his name as we get ready to start stage 2. And I said I was going to make a tire pressure adjustment, and I decided to go a little careful on it. We did a 46.5 on each tire, hoping we can get an increase in speed, as we did get 1 stage point to end the first stage. Now as we get ready to start stage 2 behind our teammate Kyle Larson, who's still looking for his first win of the season as well. Now as we come through the tri-oval, the green flag is back out. Paul Menard leads the way to the green flag now as we come across the line. Bubba Wallace sitting there in the 3rd position now is with Austin Dillon. He's way out to the outside, so immediately I get connected with the bumper of my teammate Kyle Larson to push him ahead so we can at least gain a free position now as we briefly get into the 7th position after restarting in 10th. Now as we come through turns 1 and 2, Keselowski edging me out now as we come out of turn 2. Down the back straightaway, Menard continues to lead this race. Trevor Bayne and Bubba Wallace, both drivers you don't usually see running this far up in the field considering how their cars perform. Now as they go 4 wide behind us, Kyle Busch, McDowell, Logano, and Austin Dillon all went 4 wide down the back straightaway as we head into turns 3 and 4. I had an opportunity to get to the bottom there in front of McDowell, but I decided we're going to stay up here with our teammate for the moment of Kyle Larson as we exit turn 4, and immediately he is pulling away from me. But now we start to stabilize the gap for a brief moment as we come through the tri-oval, but still showing signs that we don't have a lot of speed in this car now as we come across the line to complete the first lap in stage 2. You see Almirola sitting up the outside line trying to make a push to the front, as he has ran up front multiple times this season, but he has not been able to close out a victory or just even the finishing position that he really deserves. Now as we come down the back straightaway side by side with Jimmy Johnson, Paul Menard continues to lead just over 2nd place of Bubba Wallace as Almirola continues to try to bring the outside line to the front, but it's really not working at this point. And as we go into turns 3, you see the outside line kind of breaking up as Elliott kind of leaves us out and goes to the bottom in front of McDowell, and it completely destroys this, really, any structure that we had going on the outside line, and unfortunately I was really a big victim of this now as we completely lose any momentum I had, and we just continued to fall back down through the field now, well outside the top 10, sitting P13, about to drop back to the 14th position. So certainly at this point it was just a fight to get to the bottom line now as we come down the back straightaway, trying to get to the inside in front of Corey LaJoie. Kind of a desperate move here, trying to force my way down, and I couldn't make it happen, so I gave him the room he needs, but I was able to eventually get down to the bottom line after I had fallen down all the way to the 16th position as we come to lap 7 of 12 in stage 2, riding behind the 3 of Austin Dillon, the guy that me and Kyle Larson kind of hung out to dry at the beginning of the second stage on that first lap restart. Now as we head into turns 3 and 4, Ty Dillon in 13 behind me in 17th place now, as really, like I said earlier, the pack racing isn't very good at this track, and you're seeing just how kind of not good it is. It's really just everyone trying to ride the bottom, unlike Daytona where you can at least make the outside work a little bit now as we come through the tri-oval. And you will notice the audio cutout there. Had an audio cutout in the game. Not sure what it was, but it came back thankfully now as we hit lap 8 of 12 in stage 2. Just 5 laps to go. DiBenedetto and Elliott both on the second and third lanes as DiBenedetto's going to cut the 3 off and get into the inside, but Chase Elliott's unable to do so as I force the 3 wide with him and Dillon down the back straightaway with help from the draft from the 32 of Matt DiBenedetto as we come down the back straightaway heading into turns 3 and 4. We're approaching 4 laps to go at this point in the stage now as Elliott's going to try to get down to my inside. You know I don't like Chase Elliott, so I'm not even going to give him a break. I could have let him in, but it's Chase Elliott, so I decided we're just going to stay in the throttle and keep going now as we come out of turn 4 down the front straightaway. We would work our way up to the 13th position with 2 laps to go, battling to the inside of Jimmy Johnson, certainly in position to maybe battle our way up to get a stage point or 2 before the end of the stage, but the 48's going to kind of side draft me now down the back straightaways. That completely destroyed my momentum, and I'm going to give the same thing back to him. I said, okay, well, I can play the same game. I can side draft you as well. And unfortunately, me and Johnson playing the little side draft game completely destroyed the momentum we had, and we would pretty much lose connection with this first 11 cars now as we just barely have the draft from Larson, and it was very hard to work our way forwards now as we come out of turn 4 down the front straightaway now as I protect these 2 lanes. I'm kind of the leader as of this little pack now as we come through the tri-oval to start the white flag in stage 2. Our teammate Kyle Larson, he's losing the draft from the pack ahead, and we're just trying to pick him up now as we come through turns 1 and 2 side by side still with the 48 of Jimmy Johnson through turns 1 and 2 for the final time in stage 2 as we exit the corner side by side with the 48. Obviously I'm going to give him another side draft as we come down the back straightaway, but this time he had so much momentum that I really couldn't hold him back as he was able to clear me down the back straightaway as we head into turn 3 for the final time in stage 2. Logano behind me as he battles alongside with Ty Dillon as we get the draft from the 48 as Bubba Wallace and Trevor Bayne battle side by side for the lead as we come out of turn 4 down the front straightaway. Bubba Wallace looking in good position as we come through the tri-oval now, as he has not won a stage this season and usually doesn't in that car as it's not a very good car. Now as we come through the tri-oval, Bubba Wallace wins stage 2 and we will come across the line to finish in P13 for the second stage, so 3 positions worse than we finished in stage 1, so hopefully we can get further up. And once again I'm going to make a tire pressure adjustment to the car, but this time we're going all the way. We're going to put every tire up to 50 and hopefully that will give us a little bit more speed that we need in this car. And we would also put up the grill tape to 35%. It was at 30, so we jumped it up by 1 click, and hopefully we can get that little speed that we need in this third stage as we get ready to go green. Bubba Wallace leads us to the green flag, and the final stage in Talladega is underway. Hopefully we don't have an upset winner, as like I said so many times this season, we want this playoffs to be extremely competitive. We don't want any back runners kind of in here. We already have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the playoffs. That's a waste of a position already, so we don't need any more now. As the outside line, Trevor Bayne has a terrible restart on that outside line, slowing these guys up, and we immediately work our way up to the 9th position on the inside of Newman. Now looking to the left rear quarter panel of the 51 of Harrison Rhodes. Down the back straightaway, Jimmy Johnson on my back bumper, and I'm on the back bumper of my Chip Ganassi Racing teammate Kyle Larson, and Jimmy Johnson's going to force it to my outside as Trevor Bayne's hung out through turns 3 and 4. Me and Johnson are 3 wide with the 6 through the center of the corner now as we are losing connection with the 42 as Johnson's going to get ahead of me as we come out of turn 4. Now dropping down to the 10th position as Paul Menard's going to work his way to my outside as well in this race through the tri-oval. Certainly not a great restart. It was a very good first half a lap, and then the last half a lap of this restart just went downhill as Daniel Suarez takes the lead through turns 1 and 2 now in this race as Bubba Wallace falls back to the 2nd position as I settled in for a moment in the 10th position behind the 31 and Newman. And on the outside, or exit of turn 2, I tried to make a look to his inside, and we did just that, but down the back straightaway I wasn't able to keep the momentum I had up now as he was able to clear me down about the halfway point through the straightaway into turns 3 as I battled alongside the 21 of Paul Menard through the center of the corner. And the car at this point certainly felt a little bit faster than what we had in the first stage and the second stage, but certainly not up to kind of what I was expecting out of this car. Now as we come through the tri-oval though, Paul Menard comes down in front of me as we fall back to the 11th position, struggling to get back into that top 10 now as we actually do close up on his back bumper. 16 laps remain in this race. The last stage isn't very long as Suarez continues to lead this race as Bubba Wallace tries to make a pass for the lead, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen as we come through turns 2 on the exit of the corner, running that bottom line, riding behind the 21 of Paul Menard, using that draft as him and Jimmy Johnson are side by side. I might want to stay away from that now as he's going to take it 3 wide with Newman and Johnson as we head into turns 3 and 4. Johnson certainly not in the preferred lane considering how this race has been so far, and immediately he backs out of it and falls in line behind the 31 of Ryan Newman as we come out of turn 4. I worked my way up to the 4th position by lap 35 after continuing to run that bottom line as we make a move to the inside of the leader. Suarez following this line as he gave up the lead as we come through turns 1 and 2, and he's going to get sideways and he hits me in the rear, and into the wall we go with a terrible crash as we flip over and hit the fence, and that would completely end our race as obviously we cannot continue from something like that as we just had a terrible crash through turns 1 and 2. You see a replay on your screen from the live moment it happened, and you hear the tires squeal in my right ear, and then I just get turned into the head on into the wall and unfortunately completely destroy the car. And we were carrying the helmet cam in this race. They're going to see the helmet cam footage as we came through the center of the corner. Suarez just blows a tire, hits me once, and his back end comes around and hits me again, and we go up and over into the fence and fortunately come down on all 4 wheels as that would completely end our race, and we would finish in the 38th position as the race continued obviously, and Kurt Busch would hang on to win the race over our teammate Kyle Larson. So unfortunately that would end our race. Obviously there's not DNFs in this game, but we approached it as a DNF because let's be real here, obviously I would not be able to continue from something like that, and it was completely out of my control, so I felt it was completely unrealistic to continue in this race, and it just kind of wouldn't fit well. So we would finish 38th, unfortunately. A short end of this race. We had about, I think, 13-14 laps to go, and Kyle Larson says we were amazing. I mean, yeah, we were amazing when we hit the fence there. Daniel Suarez not happy with me considering he's the one that blew the right rear tire and took me out, but I mean, we can't really change that. I would also like to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments about me quote-unquote DNFing. So if you guys think in the future, if I have a crash like that, if I should basically just make sure I finish as far back as possible and approach it as a DNF. If you would like to see that in the future, make sure you say something about that. I feel like that's the way to approach this. I don't think I should have continued in that race, and obviously we didn't because we flipped over and hit the catch fence, okay? So I wasn't going to be able to continue, but there you see the playoff standings after the race. Like I said, Kurt Busch got his 2nd win of the season, so good for him. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Those would all be very appreciated. Now, as William Byron is 2 points out of the playoffs right now, so we're going to see if he can get himself back in the next episode in Dover. Thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you guys in the next one. Have yourselves a great day.